Critical thinking. How many ways is that a person thinks? While it's impossible to give a precise, finite number, people use a wide range of thinking styles and processes. These can be categorized in various ways, but some key types of thinking include analytical, abstract, creative, critical, and concrete. Additionally, people can think in terms of words, verbal thinking, images, visual thinking, and even sensations. Here's a more detailed look at some of these types. Analytical thinking. This involves breaking down information into smaller parts to understand how they relate to each other and solve problems. Abstract thinking. This allows us to consider concepts and ideas beyond the immediate, physical world, often involving imagination and conceptualization. Creative thinking. This focuses on generating new ideas, solutions, and approaches. Critical thinking. This involves evaluating information objectively, identifying biases, and forming well-reasoned judgments. Concrete thinking. This refers to thinking about things that are tangible and directly experienced. Verbal thinking. This involves using language and words to process information and communicate. Visual thinking. This utilizes mental imagery and visual representations to understand and solve problems. Sensate thinking. This involves processing information through sensory experiences like touch, smell, and taste. Other modes. There are also modes like divergent thinking, generating multiple ideas, and convergent thinking, focusing on a single best solution. Furthermore, people can blend these different styles and approaches in various ways, making the ways we think even more complex and varied. What are the different ways that people think? To help you understand your own interior processes and those of your colleagues, here are 12 types of thinking to consider. Abstract thinking, analytical thinking, application thinking, associative thinking, concrete thinking, creative thinking, divergent thinking. Critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to analyze information objectively and make reasoned judgments. It involves skills like interpreting, evaluating, and synthesizing information to form well-supported conclusions. It's not just about being critical or finding flaws, but rather about using logic and reasoning to assess the validity of information and make informed decisions. Here's a more detailed breakdown. Core aspects of critical thinking. Analysis. Breaking down information into smaller parts to understand its components and relationships. Evaluation. Assessing the credibility of sources, identifying biases, and determining the relevance of information. Interpretation. Understanding the meaning and significance of information, including identifying assumptions and perspectives. Inference. Drawing logical conclusions based on available evidence and reasoning. Explanation. Clearly and concisely communicating reasoning and conclusions. Self-regulation, reflecting on one's own thinking process, identifying areas for improvement, and adjusting strategies accordingly. Why is critical thinking important? Improved decision-making. Critical thinking helps in making more informed and rational decisions by considering various factors and potential consequences. Effective problem solving. It allows for a systematic approach to problem solving by identifying root causes, evaluating potential solutions, and selecting the best course of action. Enhanced communication. Critical thinkers can articulate their thoughts clearly and logically, making their communication more effective and persuasive. Personal growth and development. It fosters intellectual curiosity, self-awareness, and a willingness to learn and adapt. Academic and professional success. Critical thinking skills are highly valued in education and the workplace, enabling individuals to excel in various fields. Combating misinformation. Critical thinking helps individuals identify and avoid misinformation and fake news by evaluating the credibility of sources and claims. What is the meaning of critical thinking? What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is a kind of thinking in which you question, analyze, interpret, evaluate, and make a judgment about what you read, hear, say, or write. The term critical comes from the Greek word kritikos, meaning able to judge or discern. What are the 5 steps to critical thinking? AI overview. How to improve critical thinking skills at work in 6 steps. The 5 steps of critical thinking are generally considered to be 1. Identify the problem or question. 2. Gather information. 3. Analyze the information. 4. Evaluate the evidence and make a decision. And 5. Reflect on the process. These steps help guide a systematic approach to problem solving and decision-making by ensuring a thorough and well-reasoned approach. Here's a more detailed breakdown. 1. Identify the problem or question. Clearly define the issue or question you need to address. This involves understanding the context, scope, and any underlying assumptions. 2. Gather information. Collect relevant data, facts, opinions, and arguments related to the problem. This may involve research, observation, or consulting with others. 3. Analyze the information. Examine the gathered information critically, looking for patterns, relationships, and potential biases. Evaluate the credibility and reliability of the sources. 4. Evaluate the evidence and make a decision. Assess the strengths and weaknesses of the evidence, weigh different perspectives, and form a well-reasoned conclusion or decision. 5. Reflect on the process. Consider the steps taken, the reasoning used, and the outcome. This reflection helps to improve future critical thinking skills. What best defines critical thinking? Critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and/or evaluating information gathered from or generated by observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, or communication as a guide to belief and action. What makes a person a critical thinker? Critical thinking is the ability to interpret, evaluate, and analyze facts and information that are available to form a judgment or decide if something is right or wrong. More than just being curious about the world around you, critical thinkers make connections between logical ideas to see the bigger picture. What is an example of critical thinking? AI overview. Critical thinking skills, definitions, and examples. Critical thinking is the ability to analyze information objectively and make reasoned judgments. It involves actively questioning assumptions, evaluating evidence, and considering different perspectives to arrive at well-supported conclusions. A simple example is researching a product online before purchasing, comparing prices, and reading reviews to make an informed decision. Here's a more detailed breakdown with examples. 1. Problem solving. Scenario. A car won't start. Critical thinking. Instead of immediately calling for a tow, a critical thinker might check the gas gauge, battery, and try jump-starting the car before resorting to professional help. 2. Decision-making. Scenario. Choosing a career path. Critical thinking. This involves researching different career options, assessing your skills and interests, considering potential job markets, and evaluating the pros and cons of each path. 3. Analyzing information. Scenario. Reading an online news article. Critical thinking. A critical thinker would question the source's credibility, identify potential biases, and look for evidence to support the claims made in the article. 4. Evaluating arguments. Scenario. A friend presents an idea. Critical thinking. Instead of immediately accepting the idea, a critical thinker would ask clarifying questions, consider potential flaws, and evaluate the evidence supporting the idea. 5. Adapting to new situations. Scenario. A new software update changes the way you work. Critical thinking. A critical thinker would analyze the changes, identify potential problems, and adapt their workflow accordingly. In essence, critical thinking helps us make better decisions, solve problems more effectively, and navigate the complexities of the world around us. Is a critical thinker a good thing? Critical thinkers excel at weighing pros and cons, considering alternatives, and anticipating potential consequences. This leads to more informed and effective decision-making processes, both in personal and professional realms. Copyright 2025 BASuccess.org. BS. Sharing digitization conservation of what we have learned. Educational purpose only. Listen, learn, share. All right reserved.